Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and be invited, actually. Very interesting talk so far, so hopefully I can rush through this. So, I'm originally from the UK. I'm from Bath, but not far from Stonehenge here. So my grandparents were just down the road from here. But as we can see, we all know that that is, I think it's 2,500 years before BC. Where's my controls there? Yeah. So that one goes further there, does it? The next one? Yeah. But actually, moving on to this next one, this is incredible, I think. This is perhaps one of the oldest masonry buildings in the world. It's 9,500 years BCE, you can say. But so that's 6,000 years before Stonehenge. So it's ancient. Those monolith blocks there, they're 20 tons. And we'll sort of move on from there a little bit later. I want to talk about stability masonry. This is a dry stone wall. Basically, to explain a masonry wall, it's many units put together. They're interlocked by bonding, we call that in English. And as long as every part of every unit of that bond is in compression, then the wall is stable. So Newton's laws of physics, if you put a force against it, you have to have a returning force. You'll have to help me, Mum. I've lived so long in Norway now, I forget how to speak English. So there you go. And I'm neither good in English anymore, or I never was actually. But and I'm not that good in. So I'm sort of I'm in nowhere, no man's land, you'd call it, wouldn't you? But yeah. So as long as all these bits of stone are in compression, that wall is stable. So let's move on. That's the Parthenon, as we all know. That's a dry stone wall. There's no mortar in that at all. So that's one example. You've got Segovia Aqueduct in Spain, built by the Romans. You can see the size of those huge granite blocks. The only bit on the top is lime mortar, which transports the water. But that's a dry stone wall. That's in Ireland. That's a 1,000-year-old building. It's still there. There's no mortar gluing it together. Everyone thinks mortar has to glue things together. It doesn't. We all know this one, razor blade, thin joints, but that's a dry stone wall too. These are all examples. Medieval bridge in Sweden. It looks like it was built yesterday. Again, there's no mortar there holding it together. And then we move on to this Parthenon, different building, but it's still masonry. And the physics of it are still the same. If it's all in compression, this is, I think it's 43-meter diameter dome, and it's the largest dome still today without steel reinforcement, because actually this is in compression. That's why it's still standing. Okay, so what I've done, I put a ball there, and we've all heard about Gaudi's hanging chains. You get the perfect parabolic line of thrust. So I took a picture of a chain in the street, and as the chain hangs naturally, I drew a line there along that and put it along there, and that is in the center third of the structure. So that's what keeps this in compression, and I won't go into all the details of that, but this is basic masonry stability. You don't need mortars to glue things together. So what is the purpose of mortar? Let's talk about bread. Can't see all the text up there, but there's thousands of types of different bread all over the world, and it's been made for 30,000 years. And a skilled baker has to know the local ingredients, because they're all different breads worldwide, and they understand what happens when they combine them to make different flavored breads and all things like that. So it's a skill, isn't it? And it's pretty basic, but lots of different ingredients. But you've got flour, yeast, liquid, which creates bread. But today we make things easier. Just add water. And the angry baker, he's losing his knowledge of what things he's putting in it. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore. And he's not satisfied with his job. So what is mortar? Well, there you go. Thousands, same as bread. Thousands of different forms of mortar. The binder, you have clay mortars, earth mortars, gypsum mortars you have, and the predominant one is lime. It's been used for 20,000 Oh, yeah. Well, the same age as that building there that we saw earlier. We'll go back to that. So similar sort of thing. It's quite simple, but it's complex, really. But basic things to make a mortar. And this is actually a sentence which is sold to restoration companies. This is their product, and they say, making easy work of traditional building materials, just add water. Well, no, it's not. Because what we're doing, we're taking the skills from the craftsman and woman. We need to understand what we're using. So going back to this, they have actually found terrazzo flooring here. So this is 12,000-year-old lime concrete floor. That's incredible. I mean, this is the time they're hunter-gatherers. You know, if you get your head, it's a bit difficult to sort of think about time here. So after the Romans were really the pioneers that started incredible science of lime mortars and concretes. This is just one of the examples, but they created concrete foundations under the sea level with salt waters. They're still there today. 2,000-year-old concrete structures under the sea, and we're still finding out how the hell they did this. You know, so we've got a lot to learn. And going through the Dark Ages before the medieval period, we had I don't know why it happened, but they kind of forgot what when the Roman Empire collapsed, they stopped. The mortars were just simple, and right through the medieval period. But the medieval mason was really an architect, a builder, craftsman, designer, and an artisan. So the status was different then than what myself is today. So development of Portland cement mortar, as we know today, it was initially pioneered and inspired by the Industrial Revolution, perhaps. And John Smeaton, who built the Eddystone Lighthouse, they were all trying to find a mortar which would, because lime mortar has to harden slowly, and they wanted a mortar which answered towards the industrial side of things. So John Smeaton did lots and lots of tests with pozzolanic additives you mix with lime solution, like the Romans did. And this sort of led on to cement mortar. Portland cement was, this is the first patent of Portland cement mortar in 1824 by Joseph Astin, who was actually a bricklayer. So any building older than 1824, there's no cement in it as we know today. It was all lime for all this 12,000 years before, so predominantly. So restoration of Nidros Cathedral. I'm not going to talk too much, there's so much to talk about Nidros Cathedral, but let's go through it. This is, Nidros Cathedral was in ruins since 1532. There was a fire and half of it had collapsed, the nave, and it wasn't until 1869 that they set up the company that I work for, Nidros Domkirkes Restaureringsarbeider. I hate saying that word. The restoration workshops of Nidros Cathedral. These were some of the original guys that worked there, with the architect in the middle with his hat. So the restoration work started then. And I'm going to sort of more focus on something that we've been doing recently. You can see this whole south choir facade has been rebuilt, and it was completed, all this, in 1882. So that's just, you can see it's just finished because the roof isn't on yet. So we know how old that is. I'm just going to touch it. They used, at the time in 1869, the newest thing was obviously Portland cement. We know that since it was invented in 1824, it wasn't really starting to be used. It was a high-status, expensive material. It had to be imported from the UK or Germany. And we have receipts and archives at the cathedral, and it was 8 times more expensive than locally produced lime, which would have been used normally. So they thought that this product was fantastic at that time. So, but what are the problems with it? Well, Portland cement is inflexible. It's rigid. It doesn't move like lime mortar. It also traps moisture. It's not hygroscopic like a lime mortar is. That picture on the left is the famous mason on Nidros Cathedral, and supposedly he's going to put the last stone in. If the last stone goes in, the cathedral will collapse into the river. That's what they say, so that's kind of funny. But you can see it's been a damp week, and as the building's drying out, where is the dampness? It's on the joint, because the moisture is being held in the mortar, the cement mortar. The picture on the right there, that's a lime joint. Now you can see the dark patches. That's not at Nidros Cathedral, that's another place with the porous stone. But the point is the stone is wet, and the lime mortar is sucking out the moisture and letting it evaporate. So it helps the building to breathe. There's the rebuild, a picture of 1888. We just saw a picture of that earlier on. The one on the left, that's how it looked like. In 100 years on, that's what it looked like because of a cement mortar used there. You can't really use it on a solid wall construction. It's not wise. I mean, with time, you can get this inflexibility, cracking, calcite crusts that leak out, and that's what it looked like. We've since restored this whole facade the last 20 years. And also on the inside, the walls eventually get waterlogged, totally waterlogged, and you get salts leaching inside as well. This is on the Archbishop's Palace. These are calcite crusts, massive amounts of it. They built this wall was built in the 1950s with no capping stones, with drip details on it and things like that. So it's very poor design and architecture, and no knowledge of what can happen later. So it's not that old, 1952 I think that was built. And also fairly recently, this is before I worked there, but they took these flying buttresses down and put some expanding cement mortar in, so that it's supposed to help you can see what's happened. It's cracked and all this calcite crusts are leaking out again. You have to remember Norway's got a very extreme winter climate as well. And when we started using lime, Norway doesn't produce lime here. It's all bought in from France or Portugal. And the strongest limes, you can get them in different strengths. I don't want to talk too much about this. It's quite a complex subject, but this is one of the stronger ones, and we were told we should use that. Well, you can see that was done in 2004, and I went up there and took that picture in 2007. So, okay, it's supposed to be better, which it is. It's better than Portland cement, but we're still having problems with that. Lots to learn. So we've done a lot of research the past 20 to 30 years. This is Kilgerran Castle in Wales, and it's one of the only ones that's still got the original remnants of a limestone kiln. So I went to England and we copied this and built a replica one in Wales. And that's a friend of mine, Stafford Holmes. But we also study about the logistics. You know, how did they build these massive walls? These castle walls, there's tons and tons and tons of mortar. And if you've got 40 masons working in one day, and each man uses 1 ton, that's a lot of mortar you've got to make. And there's no shops. You've got to burn the limestone. So the logistics is mind-blowing. That's from Germany, but you can see they're slaking the lime hot, because you can see the steam on there, and the mason is using it. He's carrying up the ladder to him to use. So they used it while it was hot and slaking. And this is an old picture which we think they mixed the mortar like this while it was hot, bubbling. So we've done a lot of research. We had tried to match the medieval mortars at Nidros Cathedral, because they're what's called feebly hydraulic. They're very, very slightly. Now, if you buy the ones from France, they're too hard, in my opinion. So we've done 20 years of research, and you can see this is years ago. I look a little bit younger there. And then built our own lime kiln. So we produce all the mortar we use for all the restoration work on the cathedral and other projects outside. Restoration of the King's Entrance is the biggest, most complicated restoration we've done for 100 years. So this has just been finished recently, a couple of years ago. That is the King's Entrance. Looks a bit narrow though, but okay. You can see that's how it looked since 1532, I think. And they built this wall up and made it into a chapel, but it was originally an entrance into the cathedral. And you can see the Gothic arch there. And when they had to take it down because it was in danger of collapse. And you can see it revealed this medieval fantastic carvings around there. Nobody knew it was there. So that was taken down in its entirety, and it was rebuilt to a sort of fantasy style. But they reused the stone, luckily. So a lot of it is from medieval period, but some new. And that's just after it was completed, as you can see, 1882. But it was all built with cement mortars. So 20 years on, it started cracking again because the cement mortar is not flexible enough. And other reasons they used, perhaps some of the stone was wrong. There's lots of issues, but mostly because of trapped moisture and the things we've seen earlier. So after many meetings, we decided the only way to do this would be to take the whole thing down and rebuild it with lime mortar. And that's very complicated, as we found as well. But this is what was happening to the structure. It was bulging out at the sides. Every stone is numbered. I don't know if you can see that we had to give each stone a number, what we could see. So you don't see all the stones inside the wall either. But, so it's really important to document all this. There's some of the cracking details there. And that's the inside of it. As you see how complex that is. There's those columns, they're hand-carved columns in marble, and there's 69 of them on that little building. So this is like a little mini cathedral in itself. So it's like building a little mini cathedral. So documentation, really important. In medieval period, they would have had a tracing floor. There are those that are left in York and I think Salisbury in England, the UK. The floors were gypsum or lime rendered, and everything was drawn one-to-one scale with I don't know what you call it in English, iris. You'd use a compass and things like that on it, and you'd throw soot on and brush it over, and you'd see all the marks. And then they would take all the mouldings for each stone from the master template, which is the tracing floor. So before we dismantle the cathedral, we do it in the opposite direction. So we build a tracing floor, and we take all the measurements of the whole distorted building and plot them on that, and then we lay each layer down on top, and we can see where it's distorted and where the original architects, because we don't have a drawing anymore, we have to make one, because otherwise the stones we can't build it bent again, we have to build it straight, and to do that, some of the stones will not fit in because they're all millimeter perfect, so very complex. And from the master template, you take, for one stone, you make your templates from that master template for one stone. That's an example. That's part of the rose window on the King's entrance. And on the right picture there, you can see the stone that has been carved. But to do that, you have to have 11 templates for the stonemason to carve it. So you see how complicated, that's just one stone. And on the scaffolding, it's really important that the masons who are going to build it are full on with the dismantling as well, because it took a few years to dismantle the building, because we have to see what's happening. You can't put another group of people on it. So it's very important that you do all of it and you work as a team. So drawings are done to scale on the scaffolding by us with suggestions, because these are the original thickness of stone. They built these stones in the 1880s because they were using cement mortar, and they put concrete behind it. So we couldn't reuse these with lime mortar because it wouldn't be strong enough. So we had to switch out these stones and carve new ones. So this is just one little example of how, and I've superimposed that over the top of the actual wall, look. So those ones crossed out in red was my suggestion to the guys making the templates, what it should be. So dismantling, just blast through some of these. That's the first stone we removed. And remember, this cement mortar, they mixed it 1-to-1 cement. It was so hard, it was ridiculous. So it's very difficult we couldn't damage the stone, so we had to be very careful with everything. There's medieval stone as well. That's the rose window being dismantled. Every stone was numbered and cleaned, and I think 2/3 of all the stones, there's 2,500 stones. Some of them are 600 kilos, some of them are 1 kilo. And 2/3 of them had to be repaired. So it's not just the matter of, because they all had to be reused. So just some pictures. That's a good one for health and safety, isn't it? Without my helmet on and standing on the ribs. That's taking down the ribbed vaulting inside. And just through to the construction. Yeah, there's my workmate Teddy. It's kind of sort of daunting to start, with this enormous project, because I've never personally done that complex type of work before. So yeah, bit daunting. That stone, 600 kilos, that's the first stone that went in the foundations. And looking down on top of one of the sides of the wall, you can see all the different stones. We lay them out first and check all the measurements. We've got templates, drawings, everything. Everything has to fit with not even a millimetre. It's engineering. So, and that's basically, you can see all these plinth stones, they're called in English maybe. That's where the columns come from, and they have to be positioned exactly right for something that comes later. And you have to realise that what comes later has to match that. That's why you have to have the tracing floor. So there you go. We're coming up to the top where the springing point of the Gothic main arch, there. And all the details, these are all from medieval period, these little, these marble columns go through these. And there's no tolerance there at all. So when we build those stones up, we have to make sure that the column will go in there later. So, and if you make one little mistake, you won't get the column in there. So, yeah. That's the start of the rib, where they separate, a simple rib bolt. Yeah, another stone, that's 600-700 kilos, maybe, some of these. Yeah, and the tolerances are, 5 minutes left. Bloody hell. Okay, I'm just going to blast through these then. Those stones above him, that they're half a ton each. There's 2 above him. Actually, they're not arch stones. That's a whole block of stone going through the whole wall. Medieval stone there. We don't want to break his head off. That's going up. This is the webbing that goes between the ribs, and I propose that this should be done without formwork supports, because I believe a lot of them were built without formwork underneath them. And you can work through it like this. And then on the top, hot mixed lime concrete slurry. That's from the underside. We look a bit messy there, but that's it's all thrown on like they would have done before. So that's it finished. That's the inside. You can see how complex that is. And I think it looks lovely now. Yeah. Oh, I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Sorry. Just to show some other things that are a bit fun, because I do a lot of stuff at home. That's my house in the background. So I built an unusual house in Norway, because they're all wooden. So I built a stone house out of granite there. And this, I built 2 strange buildings in the garden because I wanted to try out things for myself, So there's my labourer, my wife. So that's quick lime in there, and she's putting it in buckets. which I use to make hot mixed lime mortar to build. So that building in the front, I call it the Hobbit House. That one behind, that's the gallery. And it's all mixed hot, so you use it while it's 100 degrees. You can burn your hands on it. So basically just run through these quickly. So I built this whole vault without supports. I think they have this tradition in South America, somewhere in Mexico, and I always wanted to try this, you know. But you have to get the knowledge of the materials you're using, because you can't do that with the wrong mortar. It has to be the right consistency. So, and I put some patterns in it, as you can see, like bricks that hung down. There's 8.5 tons of bricks there, and there's nothing underneath it. So that's geometry and knowing your materials. So that's what I wanted to show you, and that's what it looks like underneath. Now, there's no guide there. That's all measured by eye. You can't use a string line or anything on it, because it's built in purely as you're doing it. So you have to have a good eye for it. Some of the parts I had to take down again because they didn't look right to me. So it was a learning process for me. That's the outside. I built a tent over it. That was a big enough job, just building that, keeping the snow off it in the winter. Just blast through these. And that building the turret on the top, because I put what do you call it, a cupola window, like the Pantheon. And then the stonework, granite. It's all built with lime mortar, no cement in it. And you have to remember, Norway's got this extreme climate, very cold. Yeah, 22, oh, that's a while ago, isn't it? Yeah, I forgot how long. This is quite interesting, because a lot of people said to me, you can't do that. So I put these wooden beams out like this, and I wanted to devise a sort of my own Roman concrete over the top of this, and they said, oh, that won't work. So basically I put some steel reinforcement in, and you have to remember that lime moves. It's thermally good, flexible. So the Hobbit House is the other building. You can see these beams sticking out there as well, and they stick out 1 meter, and in between the beams is 1 meter as well. So, but that's, what is it, 2021? So there's no cracks in it at all. And it's only, the concrete is only this thick. So there you go. It just opens the ideas up. There's not just one material to use, and it's been used for 12,000 years or whatever. We can start thinking the beauty of lime. And then the concrete on the top, there is lime concrete. And then there's a membrane and insulation, and that's in the winter, obviously. So that's it now, and just it's not moving. Oh, there. And that door, I got some wood out of a friend of mine had a barn, and he had like wood that was 100 years old. So those doors are that thick. So I made those. And this is a young girl who took her apprenticeship blacksmith at Nidros Cathedral, and she made this and she made that for my door and gave it to me. Isn't that nice? Yeah. And the next one is the guy who's now on his pension. He made these. They're all hand beaten. They're not welded or anything. Old traditions. You must come and visit the cathedral workshops, because we have all the trades there. So that's basically that's the inside of the Hobbit House. It's got a pizza oven and a fireplace, so you can sit in there and drink beer and wine, and and leaded glass window, and yeah. So that's more or less like the Pantheon, because you could fit the ball in the whole thing, because the height of it is the whole size of it's exactly the same as that, but just a smaller version, really. So. And I just leave you with that, and then there's a video. You can see the time. It goes for 2 minutes. But I think this is lovely, this saying there. But Yeah. How do I go back there? Oh, there's the video.
Take the video first.
Is there any sound? Because I like the music on that. I made this when I built it, so it proves that I built it without supports. I'm a pretty fast bricklayer. I have to say it was a bit unnerving working under it, because you'd never know if it was going to collapse, you know, but thank you.